Hello guys, I thought I'd do a little session on some algebra. I call it basic algebra because it's not like, don't mean that, oh it's really basic and you're stupid, obviously not, just that. It's always good to start from the basics. I remind myself a lot, even though I do a lot of, well, complicated maths, but I guess it's important to always go through the foundation. Yeah, don't feel bad as well if you're a professional having to remind yourself of this either. So, you know, we all have to remind ourselves of the basics. Well, what to show like basic algebra, in my opinion, think of everything, right? Um, think you know that one always equals one, and nine equals nine, and you never ever like, for example, you don't say 5 equals 7 or 10 equals 4. You don't do that because that breaks the laws of mathematics. So if I show like so let's start off say so 0 equals 0. We know 0 equals 0. Nothing means nothing. So what do you do though if you add one side? What do you have to do to the other side? Well, so if I say, for example, I add 1 to one side, so I want to have to add it to the left side, but doesn't mean that's incorrect for it. 1 doesn't equal 0. So, no, that's wrong. So how do we beat this problem? How can I be able to add stuff to one side? Well, basically, what you do is, if I didn't want to add 1 to one side, I have to add another 1 to the other side. So 1 equals 1. That's fine now. And you represent it as +1 so that you know what you did there. So yeah, that's pretty simple. That's the foundation, you know. And this basic foundation, whatever you do to one side, you have to do the exact same thing to the other side when it comes to algebra. So let's start off with like an example. So let's say, for example, I don't know, so 3x plus 5 equals, say, 10x. So you might get something like this in maths. You might say, alright then guys, let's 3x plus 5 equals 10x. You might be thinking to yourself, well, what is x all about? Well, x is just basically your solution. So we we know 3 add 5 doesn't equal 10, but the x means something. It means something. It means a number that satisfies that equation to make it like correct again. So like when we go back to the 1 equals 1 here, um, basically it's like a number that satisfies the equation. So if this was I don't know, 1x equals 2. So if we do a bit of a simpler example, so 1x, or you just call it x equals 2, and we know that if x equals 2, we know that x must be 2, so 2 equals 2, like that. So we know x equals 2 to satisfy that equation. But I'll explain it as we go through so you can get a good idea, because it's quite hard to explain. So what we need to do, we need to get all the x's to one side. So what I do is, I notice that 3x is here and 10x is here. So what I do is I'll minus 3x to get to this side here. So that 5 equals 7x. Now, if I do so, if I put minus, I'm minus 3x, so I have to minus 3x on both sides. Now, with that, we can then go and find x. So, what does x equal? Well, 5 equals 7x, so what do we have to do to one side to get it just to equal x? So we know, like in basic multiplication, so if we have something like 7 times 6, so the x is the, no, I'll do it a better way. 7 times 6, we know that equals, what does it equal again? 42. So yeah, it's 42. But we know if we divide it by 7. So if we divide that, if we divide by 7, divide that whole thing by 7. So 42 divided by 7. What does it equal? Well, it equals 6 again. So, and that's what's happening with here with the x. If we divide by 7, we can get the original number for x. Because 7 times x equals 5. So now that we've looked at that, so what I'll do, I'll move the 7 to underneath the 5. So that is 5 divided by 7. So 5 divided by 7 equals x. And I did that because divide by 7. And I did that because dividing by 7 is you have to divide the other side of the equation by 7 too. So yeah, that's good. Okay, alright then, let's try a different example, a bit more complicated. How do I rub stuff out? Ah yeah, so so select. So if we now where's my text again? So if I got text, so let's do another one. So this will be an interesting one. 7x squared plus 10 equals let's say 120. This is a bit complicated for me, but we'll go for it. In fact, if I get rid of that, let me think. 11 times. If I rub this out again. Sorry, it's taking too long. X squared. I'll just use a simple x squared, but plus 10 equals 131. Right, cool. So 131. So what do we have to do here? Well, first we've got to get this x's to. We've got to get the sum here, the number, to one side, so we can simplify the equation. So we'll minus 10. And so that means x squared equals 121. Then, so what does x squared mean? Well, x squared means x multiplied by x equals 121. So, what do we do here? Well, we can't we could move it to one side, but then it would be x equals 121 over x, which wouldn't help really, because you got two x's on both sides. So you need to find a number that goes into 121 that two numbers the same, or what we would call square root. So what happens here? So we divide, so we square root the number, so square root x squared. So that just means it's x because you're dividing by itself. Divide x squared by x. So what's 121 divided by a number that goes into 121? So that's 11, because as we know, if we show it, so x times x equals 11 multiplied by 11. So as we can see here, we just have to find a number, the exact same number that goes into that. Sometimes you might just see the same number in a maths book, but just square rooted, because you need a calculator to do it, or you need to know how to do surds calculations. But yeah, I hope this was useful. I'll stop there, and I hope it was useful. And if you've I can always do some more of this. Please leave comments, for ideas and stuff. Uh, I haven't got much going on the channel really. I ain't got anyone really, but if you can help out and just give me some ideas to look at, that'd be great. Okay, thank you. See you later.